All right, so I'll call the meeting to order.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call. Meg Quinn here. Lori Beal. Elizabeth Ricketson. And then we have, we can see names, we can't hear, and Joshua, roll call.
Here.
Okay.
Joshua.
Matt's here.
Here.
Maya, all right, we can only see your name.
Yeah, I can't turn on my camera, but I'm here.
No worries, okay, so everybody's here. Yes. Okay. Approval of the agenda, I have, at least one recommendation. Let's move the set action items and goals for the first quarter down to the last item. I will do that, okay?
Okay, I move that we approve, the agenda with the, movement of the, first item to the end.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Right, okay. All right, and then approval of the minutes from the December 2nd meeting. I'll vote for approval. Second,
Second.
in favor? Anybody in favor? Everybody in favor? Aye. Okay. All right, so,
Get those minutes to me and I'll post them.
okay. All right, so then we'll move on to report from council liaison, Jake.
So thank you all for attending. Obviously, we've had a lot of developments since our last meeting on the 2nd. Many of you have already seen or heard, but we were awarded the $2.4 million grant from New Mexico Housing Authority on the property behind Zeb's. So we are moving forward at blazing speed to get housing on there. So thank you all for the hard work to get us to this point. And now I'm going to ask about 1 million more things of you, I'm afraid, to get us across the finish line. Some of you that were here early have already heard, but the village has made the decision to transition Rocky's role over a little bit. So Rocky has been our clerk now and grant writer for some time. He is going to slide out of the clerk position and become the deputy clerk. So he'll be kind of the backup clerk for when the primary clerk is out. And his primary responsibilities will be project management and grant writing still. The mayor's opinion, we've had a couple of projects this year, the remodel of Village Hall, the roof addition over at the community center that quite bluntly didn't go particularly well. We had problems with contractors, we had problems with design engineers, and it's just not something that, you know, the mayor can really take on as a full-time position. With this project, that's gonna be, you know, $6 to $7 million, plus Fire Station 1, plus lights and restrooms out at Allen Fields, plus whatever else we decided to pile on. The decision was made that we really needed to have a full-time project manager, just with the amount of construction that we're gonna be going through over the next several years. So Rocky is going to be the deputy clerk and project manager. We have a council meeting tomorrow where I believe Ileana Strickland will be put forth to go from the deputy clerk to the full clerk position. So just to kind of give you guys an idea of internally what's going to shift around and change, that's personnel wise what's happening there. Most of what's occupying my time right now is since the grant award, we have been fast and furious trying to figure out layouts for the site. If we can partner up with one of the adjacent properties to add some additional workforce housing to improve our road flows through the property better. I've had lots of meetings about that. I have another one Wednesday with the mayor and a developer. So there's a lot of background things that it's not that we're not looking for input from you. We're just trying to get paperwork to like a 60, 70, 80%. So when we put something in front of you, it's real. You know, we don't want to park a question somewhere. We'd rather bring you decisions to make, if that makes sense. So,
Can I ask a question?
yes,
So did the developer who was purchasing the property between Zeb's and the hardware store, did they close?
No.
Okay,
So, in the background, that property, which is between True Value and Zeb's fronting 434, it is still under contract.
okay,
My understanding is it was under contract with a backup contingency offer.
right,
The backup contingency offer has gone away, and that developer is now aggressively looking at Patriot Plaza.
okay.
Because one of the things that Santos, who may join the call in a little bit, has been working on, there is a new funding opportunity through the Mortgage Finance Authority, through Housing New Mexico, that is quite a bit more attractive to developers than the outgoing one.
Mhm.
It actually will fund up to 300% AMI. The grant we were awarded will fund up to 150% AMI. In round numbers, that means a household income of about $95,000 will qualify. So this new one would qualify even higher than that. And grants from that program qualify not only for infrastructure work, but site building structure work as well. So you can go below ground and put the buildings on with it. So there's a couple of other development projects that I don't think will necessarily be looped in as a committee,
Mhm.
because ultimately what they'll be looking for from the village is either nothing or some infrastructure. And that's what we're looking at with the property adjacent to us is we know what it's gonna cost to put road, water and sewer through that private property. And would we get enough workforce housing units to justify the spend is really the question that we're trying to sort out. So I've had a lot of emails, a lot of back and forth, and we finally, the mayor and I are gonna have a meeting with that developer as kind of a go, no-go meeting. Can we put a deal together here or not?
And you're talking about the one that's under contract, it's not
Yes.
completed,
It's not completed.
okay.
I met with the developer and the realtor on that job. They had a closing date of April, but they could pull it up to tomorrow if they wanted to. So there is still reason to talk to them. It's just gonna be a question of, is the juice worth the squeeze for us to, I mean, I prefer the layout because by linking the property, we can do a horseshoe, basically around Zeb's.
Mhm.
Makes the road flow better. It probably nets us more space on our property. But based on what that developer is proposing with his property, it would leave us with some number of units. And we're looking at those number of units weighed against the cost of all the infrastructure that we would have to put in the property to make it go.
Okay, okay.
So,
Where's Patriot Plaza? I don't know.
so Patriot Plaza, do you know where J.A. Bakery is?
Yes.
So that is the
That
building
property.
behind, yes, that property. The other thing that the new grant opportunity would allow is, it not only allows for new construction, but it would allow them to finance the rehab of an old building,
Oh.
which that is exactly what that property
well
would
known,
need.
yeah.
Because that property is gonna need a huge rehab to become, to get a legal C of O again. So
Yeah.
they're looking at that property, fairly hot and heavy. I think there's also a developer looking at the one out at the corner by the blinking light. So several things going. And all stuff we're happy to share and keep you guys in the loop on. We're really focused more on the one that's adjacent to us, because what we don't want to have happen is we get in this negotiation back and forth and it delays our engineering work and our site work and then our housing.
Right.
We are still focused on getting housing on our 4.25 acres this summer. That is still the goal, okay? So update wise, that is really what's going on in the background. I have a lot of things, and this will kind of flow to the next item, which is the housing review and ranking, if that's okay, unless there's other questions.
Well, but a couple of things I wanted to touch on was, just don't want to forget about that, survey that, Santos sent us. We need to put that as an agenda item for us to work, because I took a look at it and I gave him some info, but I haven't really, with Christmas and vacation, I haven't really put it out. I don't even know if I forwarded it to the team yet. So I need to forward that to the team, and then we need a
Okay.
work session for that, so just as an effort. And then the other thing was, you mentioned our grant that we currently have is up to 95% of AMI,
150%.
150%, which is about 95,000.
Correct.
So the housing, so those houses that we put on there are gonna be limited to people with about a $95,000 income or less. Okay,
Yes, household income,
household income. okay.
correct. I think it's built around a family of four, if I'm not, this is,
Okay.
Yeah, a family of four would be, close to about $100,000.
Okay.
And then it lessens if there's 1, 2, or 3 people in the house.
Okay, so we'll need to, yeah, okay.
That's on the survey.
Right, and that's another thing, I didn't have time to even ingest, we got all these documents today.
yep,
So we can talk about the vendor review ranking, but my thing is going to be, I'm not ready to discuss it at this meeting, so,
so I'm not looking for a vote on this. What I'm looking for is help.
oh, okay.
Because since the grant award came out, I've probably been contacted by a dozen manufacturers of
Okay.
modular and mobile homes. They're all like, hey, you have money, we wanna bid for
do it,
this,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And so, what I'm looking for the committee to do is really create an evaluation process.
Okay.
A very, very brief, what are your dollars per square foot? What are some of your floor plans available? And the biggest question that probably has to go at the top is, what are your lead times?
Mhm.
So, there's a couple of really cool modular manufacturers based here in New Mexico that we'll end up evaluating. But my impression in talking to them and some others is if we're gonna give somebody an order for housing, an actual purchase order in the
Mhm.
spring sometime, when can we have them? If
Mhm.
I'm gonna give you a 30-unit order and you tell me I can have them in 2026, you're going to the bottom of the pile.
Mhm.
So what I'm looking to do, because I'm getting phone calls and emails and presentation requests, and it's just more than I can chew
Sure.
through. And it's not my decision. Ultimately, the whole point of having committees is let you guys come in and do the evaluation of the housing vendors. So what I would like to do is not that we are gonna pick a housing vendor today. That was
Okay.
never gonna happen.
Okay,
But we've got to funnel in the ones that we have already vetted and all of these new ones and develop a matrix for how to screen 12 down to 3 or 4.
Mhm.
Figure out if we're gonna do site visits, figure out if our funding partner needs to do any site visits with them. So that's really, I'm just looking to create a process that lives at this committee for ranking and evaluating housing
okay.
stock.
And then, so you mentioned lead times, the dollar per square foot, the kind of units they have available. I'm
This-
just thinking, I'll put together a matrix and maybe we can kind of work it a little bit, email on the matrix.
Yes,
And then, the other thing is I would like to have things like, when I was glancing through, it's like, oh, we're just getting started. That
Yes.
makes me nervous.
Yes.
So number of years.
yes. We don't want this to be a
Or whatever.
30 questionnaire because we're gonna have to give this to like a dozen people.
Uh-huh,
So we really want the questions that are rule out questions. To your
Sure.
point, have you been building homes for a year? Or which permitting process do you put these through? Cause I had one guy contact me, they're taking tough sheds
mhm.
and turning them into,
And what,
it's like,
yeah,
but they're all coming out of the woodwork now
Right.
and good for them. That they're being proactive about it, but it was far more context than I'm gonna be able to get through. So,
okay, that's fine. So,
What if I come and be your secretary? Screen for you.
well, so my intention is, and I'm a firm believer, a lot of this work should be done behind the scenes via email, okay?
mhm,
And that we're here in person to vote on things,
mhm.
discuss, reach consensuses, that type of thing. But I'm gonna start throwing all those in, so if you guys wanna talk amongst yourselves and figure out, who will have time to kind of champion the housing process, if it's Lori, great. Let's figure out how to create the questionnaire, let Lori go through it with all these vendors, and then come back and give us a report so we can get to the weed out phase. Because timing wise, just as an update, we're gonna be going through the environmental assessment for the next 60 to 90 days,
Mhm.
okay? We have an architect who has done one layout already that is very preliminary, but we've got to very quickly figure out how many homes are gonna fit on site.
Mhm.
And that is gonna be driven by which housing vendor we select, and do we modify the road design to partner with an adjacent property? Okay, but we've gotta get those two answers sorted out so that we can begin the civil engineering work.
Mhm.
Because the civil engineering work is gonna be done likely by our in-house or our on-call engineer, Dennis Engineering. Those documents need to be done and prepared so we can start to develop requests for bids for contractors to come out and bid on all of the work to prepare the site. Now,
You said we need to know the number of units. Is it based on what info, like what can fit there, or based on the survey info that we've kind of gathered?
So, I still think, so we have a primary vendor that was, that Champion is the one that we vetted the furthest. You guys have seen some of their layouts, okay?
And do we have, was that some of the documents that you sent us, or we
No.
have those from previous?
That was from previous. Everything I sent you today was new
New, okay.
people, and there's several more I haven't sent.
Okay.
So for my 30-unit layout that the architect already produced, they used Champion's 2-bedroom footprint and 3-bedroom footprint, okay? Now, one of the things we never could find, this committee, was any 1-bedrooms. Okay, so that should be one of the questions for these vendors is, do they have any efficiencies, any 1-bedrooms, tiny homes, whatever we're gonna call it, that mathematically makes sense? Cause so far we haven't found that.
You sent one today.
I sent 2 or 3 today.
Yeah.
Well, one was specifically for the one bedroom.
Okay,
And wasn't there, and so just a couple other questions I have, so we kind of know what we're working with, because the $2.4 million grant is, how much of that is gonna be committed to infrastructure versus purchasing units? Do you have any idea?
so I have some rough guesses.
Okay,
I suspect we're gonna end up with about $1 million of that goes into preparing the site, and that will be not only the actual ground site work, but the engineering, the environmental assessment, all of the engineering work needed to produce the plan set to build this. So we think about $1 million is gonna end up in the dirt somewhere.
including the infrastructure, like the sewer lines and everything?
Now,
Water, sewer, okay.
one of the big questions to be determined, and I've had several meetings with village manager and public works director, do we asphalt this road? Is a very serious question, because
Yeah.
it's gonna be very expensive to do, but it's also gonna be a highly trafficked road.
Yeah.
So that question is gonna drive that $1 million up or down
Mhm.
significantly. So we're gonna end up with about 1.4 available to buy houses, okay?
Okay,
If we use Champion as an example, that'll buy us about 10. Okay? So as a reminder, right now, the existing plan is to finance the remainder of those houses, either through the New Mexico Housing Authority or through sustainability partners. We have a couple of different options on how to finance the balance to build out. So it's not critical today that we're gonna build 28 units or 32
Okay.
units. As far as evaluating housing vendors, that's really what I'm gonna be doing in the background, is trying to get that answer of, let's finalize the site design. And that is a week to week, meeting to meeting, so it's not that I wouldn't have you guys do it, I just don't think we can wait. I think, so pushing the housing selection process here offloads me to really be focused on finalizing the site layout itself.
and none of this money, I just wanna make sure, because I know we have all these vendors now who wanna come in, and they're gonna be asking about that 2.4 million, or can we have any part of that for our infrastructure, for whatever? And it sounds to me like the only thing we're considering right now would be that potential next door vendor part of the road.
Correct, but
Okay.
we're not considering that next door lot for any of this 2.4 million.
Okay,
Because the way the grant was written and awarded, it would mean we'd have to go back and modify it.
oh, yeah.
And so if we can link that other site, whatever infrastructure ends up on their site
Okay.
would come out of a different village
Some
financing.
new, okay.
Exactly. So we're gonna spend every dime of that 2.4 on our site.
property, okay.
Correct.
Everything we do has got to focus on that 4.25
Yes,
acres.
Okay,
correct.
all right.
Can I
So-
interject something on criteria?
Sure, go ahead.
One thing to consider also, I think is important, is that, once we select a vendor, we have to be mindful to understand what kind of purchasing options we have. And so, if, another question that might be asked would be, is if they're on state contract.
Correct.
Because if they're on state contract, then we don't need to go out for RFP. If we're,
On state contract.
yeah, if we might have a vendor, or let's say the sustainability partners, that's a whole different situation where they take ownership of the buildings. And we take ownership of the land, then we don't need to go out for a loan, we don't need to go out for RFP. I'm just saying, there's just some things there to think about.
Right.
When we pick a vendor or a group of
Okay.
vendors, yeah. And then the other thing too, when it comes down to what I've been listening to and hearing, is when it comes down to our infrastructure, I think there might be some problem situations where our companies to provide our infrastructure may not be available when we want them, because, you know, we want this project done in 2025, right?
Right.
So if they're not available, then we have to ensure that maybe our own staff here at the village can maybe provide some of the work for our infrastructure.
And I've,
Some of the excavation and that kind of thing.
I've already had a meeting with the public works director and the village manager about, do we want to self-perform some of this infrastructure work? That's being explored right now. We've even talked about that maybe we would bid out the excavation of the property and that the village personnel might lay all of the water pipes and sewer pipes. So there will be kind of a hybrid model, but what we're trying to figure out is, do we have the capacity to do it? So there's a lot of background work happening within the village to figure out how to get this in for 2025.
Okay.
So what I'm looking for the committee to do is take over some of the parts that they may feel like they're a little further down, but I just don't have time to go through and vet a dozen vendors over the next 30
Sure.
days
Okay.
by myself.
And then we're ready to roll once.
Correct. So then when we come back and say, okay, here's the final layout, we're only using our lot, or nope, we are gonna successfully link the lots, then we'd come back to you and start actually tweaking the site layout itself. So there's a
No, it's okay.
there's a couple other needs. So Rocky has started developing the tracks of how this project's gonna need to go, you know, a construction track, a design track, a financing track, and he's gonna be, you know, bulldogging all of that, okay? So other things that we need to still follow up on. I believe our governance document is still stuck at legal.
Yeah, I had a question about that.
So I think if somebody wants to champion the housing selection, the other thing I'm gonna need help with is getting that document out of legal and adding to it. And what we're specifically gonna likely add to it is some type of lottery system, okay? I've got some numbers bouncing around in my head based on the 30-unit site. I think at least 50 to 75% of those are gonna be spoken for by village employees, but that leaves us 50 to 25% that we're gonna have to fill with all of the other people who are qualified. So we're gonna need a lottery system to make that as fair as we can. I know that there are examples of this being done in Colorado. I don't know if anyone's done it in New Mexico. So we've gotta pretty quickly find that, figure out how to get it added to the governance document, or maybe we decide, hey, let's not add it to the governance document. Let's create a separate working document that is the lottery for when there's more demand than supply for housing. But we're gonna need that document early summer.
Why is it stuck in legal, do we know?
I don't know. The all-purpose reason is everything we send to legal seems to be stuck there for 3 or 4 weeks, and the squeaky wheel's getting the grease. So
I can commit to looking into
Yeah.
that, getting it from legal. if you
Okay,
like.
sure.
we need to squeak on that. So realistically, everything that I'm saying is on one of Rocky's tracks right now. So he needs to be looped in on all of these emails, any request you have of, hey, where is this going? Feel free to copy me, but if you need an answer, you know, he's really gonna be the primary contact on getting these homes on the ground for the next 6-8 months.
Right, and so one of the things that I do as part of the project management is to estimate time, okay? And so if you guys are going to be working on the criteria and establishing criteria for this housing and looking at vendors, how much time do you think you need? At this point, I've given you 2 weeks, but I'm not sure that's enough.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to come up with the thing and then we'll have to figure out who's gonna, cause if we're gonna try to make phone call, I mean, we've got these documents, we can go through these and maybe we can answer some of these questions based on the documents. That's not what you're intending?
No, my intention is that we create the questionnaire and make the housing vendors fill it out.
Okay,
You
okay.
already have a questionnaire in your head.
I have part of a questionnaire in my head, but no, I'm not suggesting that anyone on this committee have to do phone calls and run people down. But
Okay.
these people who are coming to us aggressively wanting to sell us housing, I would like this committee to develop a screening questionnaire to start
Okay.
figuring out who matches our project goals and who doesn't.
Okay. All right, and so I mean, we've got a few things here, and then I think if anybody else has any, I mean, we can put this together, or,
I
what
would,
I would like to do is to have, if we're gonna interview, it was different, but if we're just gonna send them a questionnaire, then we can put the draft of the questionnaire together, send it out, we need responses, cause we, you know, the email responses, we don't always get a response, we need it, and people at least say, I'm good with what you sent, or here's some things I need to add.
Yeah.
well,
So,
So I'm having the same experience right now on my fire adaptive committee. We're really encouraging committees to do the email work between meetings.
Mhm.
So that when we show up for meetings, we can keep them to a compressed timeline for people's times, and we're showing up ready to review and vote on stuff.
Okay,
So feel free to spitball this via email all you want, and then let's do all
Come
of
to
that
the
work we
meeting.
can via email, and then we show up to the meeting ready to.
say this is our thing, and then this is how we
Yes.
send it out, okay.
Exactly
I
right.
noticed on the forms you sent that you asked one vendor about changing the flat roof or putting on a patio or something.
So,
He sent you a version.
yeah, so I
I was
I
wondering if
had a-
that should be
there-
one of our questions.
probably, so there's probably a couple of more that we should spitball around, but I had one of these vendors who probably called me 4 times over the holiday break.
Mm-hmm,
I mean, and emailed me 3 more times and was just go, go, go. So I finally returned one of his calls and I was like, listen, this process is not gonna live with me. It's gonna have to live somewhere else. But it goes back to the other concerns of housing. Roofs are a concern up here because not every mobile home manufacturer builds a unit capable of our snow loads.
yeah, so I wrote down snow load specifications on here.
The same way with insulation factor, who builds a better insulated unit? Who has options for heating that will match our climate? So those were kind of the other 3 that I had bounced around in my head that I just verbally told him. And that's why he said, oh, well, we can modify this flat roof. So
And are you looking for garages for all of it, please?
we don't have to, several of them provide garages. They're all wanting to put their best foot forward and that's what they should be doing. But
Per
it's-
square foot?
it's up to us to evaluate, again, does what they offer meet the goals of this project, at least for a phase 1 project? Because at the top of Rocky's sheet, what does it say? 2025 housing, like
Right,
everything we're gonna decide on is how do I get housing here this year?
yeah,
Yeah.
Because we don't wanna get stuck in the doldrums of evaluating for the next 18 months. We'd rather
Yeah, that's
pick a
the
vendor
first
that meets
question.
90% of our criteria and go.
and is the expectation that we're building foundations for these houses, or no?
We're open to either. If somebody can, if they're gonna be mobile homes and insulated chases, or if they need to be stem wall foundations, that's fine. But that is ultimately gonna get factored into the cost evaluation.
Okay,
So, what most of the committees end up with at the end of this process, post questionnaire, is they develop a rank choice report
mhm,
that then gets passed along to council. So you don't say, well, so we're gonna take our top 4 options and everyone will put a number next to their name.
okay,
So that's what we'd like to see.
okay. All right, so
So I guess that's a question too.
What's that?
Is your modular
yeah, I put
or
foundation
slab or
requirements.
either or?
Right.
Okay, so I can start the draft of the,
But
thing, go ahead.
one caution is, what we don't wanna have happen is this questionnaire turn into, hey, we wanna come do a presentation. Cause we'll be listening to presentations for the next 6 months. We're gonna whittle this down to a very small handful
Mhm.
that then will get further scrutiny. They may get site visits. They may then come up here and present, but we need to do that first cut
Okay.
pretty quickly and pretty aggressively.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah, I can do that.
I'll put together the matrix or whatever, or the questionnaire,
Mhm.
and we'll send it out draft, and then we'll get the feedback, and we'll come back in and vote. And then what I would like is someone who will send out those questionnaires and collect them back.
Yes,
And then we can all evaluate. I know you have some construction knowledge. It'd be great if you were definitely, reading through those and whatnot. I mean, we'll all. read
Yes,
through them, but
definitely,
yeah.
I would like to, yes, ma'am.
now, the only question I have here, and this, we're doing this on the fly. I think all of you should use email to,
Mhm,
figure out the matrices.
right,
But one question, and this, I take input from Rocky. Rocky has a village email address.
mhm.
Should we have Rocky or someone with a village email address be the one actually sending out the email solicitation?
I
To
think
the
so,
housing
because in
vendors.
that way, they're not, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we get those back, get the
Correct.
responses back, he can forward those to us.
Right.
Yeah, that would be ideal.
And so that,
I don't know if you.
would that give you
might
to
know
the-
responses, but you
Yeah.
gotta get them in one.
Yeah,
Right.
okay, that's fine.
so can we commit to by the 27th to have this the questionnaire done?
Yeah, we'd have to come back and vote on it for sure.
Yep.
So we'll have to set a date that will work for that. Today is what, the 13th?
Today's the
13th.
thirteenth,
That's
and
2 weeks.
2 weeks is the
27th.
27th.
And I will apologize to you, I'm sure multiple times over the next couple of months, but I bet we're gonna end up with twice a month meetings,
Yeah.
even
I
if
was
it's just to
thinking
come
that.
in to vote on one thing.
You
Now-
kind of prepped us for that in
Yeah.
December, so, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So,
that's fine.
So
Okay.
I'm hoping by the 10th of February that we would have that finite list of those that meet the
Yes.
criteria.
Okay.
And then we can work on a decision.
And of these documents that we get, I think I would ask our committee to read through those, and if there's and you tell me if this is not okay. If there's anything that we just really think, no, not at all, do we even wanna send them the questionnaire? Like if there's a person that, like, I read that one that's coming out, they've got metal buildings that fold out. I mean, we might as well order them from Amazon.
Yeah.
You know, I don't.
Yeah.
It's the
Right.
same thing.
no,
I know.
I agree.
If we don't wanna even give them,
We're not interested in your products, and thanks
yeah,
Right.
for
Yeah,
your
we
submission.
Now-
we have enough options.
You have,
yeah, if we have enough options.
yes. However, just in the interest, particularly if they've already reached out,
Mhm,
as opposed to a non-response, I think sending them the questionnaire,
okay,
but knowing that, you know, from a ranking perspective, like,
they're probably gonna go down.
right,
okay.
I think if we just ignore them altogether, that's less desirable than let them participate in the process, knowing that some of them are not gonna make that first cut pretty quick.
Okay, okay. All right, so then you will have to provide us with the list of all the ones.
Yes,
So we know who, all the ones you've sent us some.
yes,
Any other documents you have, just forward those to us, and then we'll kind of make a list, and we'll make sure that those are the vendors that get.
and keep in mind, we will likely put, Champion through these same paces, even though they have been kind of the design vendor we've been basing around. We're gonna send it to them and make them answer the same questions and go through the same process,
Mhm.
so that we end up with a report that council can use to base its decision off of.
I'd like to ask them too, because you talked about are they on state contract? If they
Yep.
have other communities that they've already done some of their units in, so that way.
Example,
Yeah, example community, so that if we, you know, we can kind of relate to, well, if all they've done is Santa Fe, or all they've done is Taos,
Right.
and there's no mountains there, then I don't know. Of course, you know, the piece of land we're doing is pretty flat. so.
the other thing you might consider is, because this is gonna be a multiple pass situation,
Mhm,
do you want to do a very brief questionnaire
Probably.
and eliminate 3, and then send a follow-up questionnaire with all the detail stuff?
Okay, okay.
Maybe we
That
should
might be
keep
a
an eye
good
on that
idea.
as we circulate, say, here's
Yeah.
our first tier questions, here's our second tier,
Yes.
maybe
Yeah,
a
good
third
for-
tier.
Correct.
Yeah,
I like that idea because as Jake's mentioned, one of the big ones is can they deliver 20 to 30 units in
Right.
2025?
Right. And if the answer is no, I
They're
don't,
out.
I don't care about the rest of your answers, unfortunately.
right,
Yeah.
right, okay,
Yeah.
okay,
What is her own?
all right, so I'll take that, go
We
do.
go into.
Um,
To put together and drive and then we'll have a meeting on the 27th.
Does anyone want to volunteer for the lottery question? Has anyone started to look into that or seen any examples of housing lotteries
I'll
out there?
volunteer for researching it.
Okay,
Yeah, I
Okay.
kind of heard about that. I think it
Okay.
was Silverton,
I-
Aspen.
Frisco, Colorado, I know they all have, you'll find housing authorities, but we've got to figure out a way to, hey, we have 100 applicants for 9 homes. How do we,
Yeah.
How do we get
I'll
through
start
that?
the-
And I'd like to know why they didn't, I'd like to know why they did lottery versus first come, first served. You know,
Hmm.
well, because we're gonna open up application dates in, let's say, May or June. And I guess it could be first come, first serve, but
mhm,
most of them, I think, have ended up with a lottery because they have 300% more applications than they're gonna be able to fill. And it then gives them that backlog of future tenants to go to a developer and say, hey, I had 80 more people looking for this apartment than we could satisfy.
Right.
Well, wasn't it Frisco, Winter Park? It was like 3 different areas going together to build a workforce housing.
it might,
So
okay,
that might be why they did the lottery.
Could have been.
okay,
So that's, I apologize for the lack of clarity on the housing vendor review. It's not for today, but we need to build that system out, so.
Okay.
Okay,
okay, all
So I
right.
have one other question. What's the company that we keep talking about that might be managing
sustainability partners.
it? They don't build it though.
No,
Did they work with Champion?
they have not done housing before. They approached us about our water meter project. You can think of them as essentially the financing. If we're gonna spend $1 million in the dirt and $1.4 million on homes, I need another $3 million financed somehow, some way, whether it's through a New Mexico financing entity or through a private financing entity. We've got to figure out how to finance the balance of the housing costs.
What happened to our clock?
Oh, they took it away.
Okay. All
Here,
right, we're good.
6:05.
Okay. Okay, so, okay. So the two action items we have for that is Elizabeth on the draft of the matrix. Megan's gonna check into the lottery. Okay. All right.
I'll get the governance document.
Oh, yeah, and you're gonna get the governance document. Okay.
I'm gonna read something, I'm gonna check over them.
Well, yeah, we're gonna get, when we get it back, yeah, when we get that back, but,
But
yeah.
we're, in my gut, in my notes, we're shooting towards, we'll do a meeting on the 27th. We'll set that up, shooting towards 29th for Rocky to actually send, have ready to go.
Perfect, yeah.
Okay. All right, so next was review and vote on the committee charter, which I don't know that we have an updated committee charter to be review and vote on. Do we? Cause I remember when we came out of that meeting,
Yeah.
I was getting ready to go to Egypt. So I took the documents for the comprehensive plan, but I don't know what happened to the committee charter updates. I had, in my file, I have a bunch of marked up ones that I had circulated, but I think we had more feedback in addition to what I had circulated. So, hold on, I'll find it.
No, I don't have that.
So, let's look this over, because you brought this document.
Right, I brought that.
Right.
And then I thought we made more notes on that in addition, did we not?
Okay.
I don't know where those are at. If we didn't, then I can take that marked up one. I thought we had more notes than that, and that I handed them.
Because I
To
looked back at
you.
the minutes and it matched pretty well to this
Did it?
document, yeah.
Okay. Well, since it's not a cleaned up version, I guess we'll delay that vote till. And I'll send out the cleaned up version and we'll vote on that on the 27th.
Okay.
Is that okay?
If you would like my input on that, I would be willing to join in on that.
Oh,
As
okay,
part of project management, that's one of the first things I usually do in a project is create a
Great.
charter.
okay.
And that's what this group is focused on, so.
Well, here's this copy. If this is what I could have sworn we added some more sections. And I thought I handed over my marked up copy to you at the end of that meeting.
Well,
but you don't think we?
No, I had taken before the previous meeting when we've done that and,
Okay.
And also the committee plan
Okay,
and done that, but I haven't taken those.
okay.
I looked through all my papers to make
Yeah,
sure,
I'm
yeah.
not finding it here,
Yeah, 'cause
so.
I called you today, cause I was like, oh.
Okay, so
Right.
here, give that one to Rocky.
It would need a ton.
So Rocky, if you will read through that and just,
And I can make a copy for you to.
I have 4 copies,
Electronic
so.
would be something.
Okay.
Okay. And what is that one?
Rocky is very
It's got everything on
paperless.
it.
No, that's my notes on.
No, the one right here, right there.
Mhm.
They're not writing on the front of that? Oh, it just says draft, okay, oh, I see, okay, okay. I continue the electronic copy.
Okay.
Okay. Is that, I'm assuming it's okay to get feedback from Rocky for that,
For sure.
okay? Okay, so then review on the comprehensive plan documents, I forwarded those to everyone earlier this week. Just as an FYI, I had already sent those off to the comprehensive plan because I thought, based on the feedback that we got in our email, that there was only one wording change. And so if we were good with it from the previous meeting, I thought, but anyway, if we need to vote on those, we can. I will tell you the feedback I got from the comprehensive plan committee members. One was, oh, great job, looks like y'all are doing good. And the other one was, says, there's no measurable goals in there, like number of units. And I responded back and said, we're just now going through our surveys, so we don't know exactly how many units we're doing yet. But if we wanted to, we know that we're planning on 30 units, so that I could change, we could make that update. to send back to them as an update that the goal of 2025 is to, I mean, I know you talked about 10 units. Are we planning on actually trying to do 30 in 2025?
We are.
Okay, so while I can make that update,
Yeah.
so if that's the only update, can we vote it pending that? Can we vote for it pending that update?
Sure can.
Okay, and then once we get more evaluation done of the surveys and see that we need more, then the other thing too we might do is we're gonna add to the governance document something around lottery detail. I might put that as one of our goals. So I'll add those two, and then we're good for that. Okay. So everybody had a chance to look at that, I'm hoping?
Yes.
Okay, all right, so all in favor, or do we need to do it by person? How do we do that?
Roll call vote.
Roll call vote, okay.
Yeah, I vote to pass the way bill.
So you'll need a motion in a second and then have the secretary do a roll call vote.
Okay.
Yeah, I
so-
move that we accept the comprehensive plan document as amended.
Second that.
Okay, all right.
But
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Maya?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye. Maya.
All right. Yay, we have a document done.
Yay.
Okay, and then last on the agenda, well, not last on the agenda, second to last on the agenda is to review the survey results. And so again, I did not have a chance, I personally did not have a chance to digest those, but it looked like I was worried we weren't gonna have any responses, but we actually had several responses. So I'll open it and then, but Matt, do you wanna talk through it and kind of talk about it for us?
You wanna let Matt just share a screen?
Yeah, Matt, that'd be great.
Sure. Let's see here.
Okay, everybody see it okay?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of small, but it's okay, we can.
Okay, well, I'll zoom in a second here, but just to point out, kind of just give you the lay of the land, there's 3 separate tabs here. A employer survey, the village employee survey, and then just the general employee survey. We've already talked quite a bit about the employer survey. You've seen it. I don't believe, yeah, so the very latest data response on that was from November. So I think we've all seen basically all of that data. I think you've all seen some of the employee survey data, which is the first tab. The one you haven't seen is the village data. But at this point, all I've done is just kind of in the bottom rows, I've calculated some just simple stats, minimum, max, average. For some of the ones that are multiple answers, I'll have to tabulate those in another way to make it simpler, make a pie chart or something to better understand it. Question for you all in terms of, what's most useful? What do we need? What kind of information do we want to highlight now that we have all this data? How do we want to try to, what's the most pertinent data to share with people?
So I think for me, the personal is how many people responded. I would like to know how many already live in Angel Fire versus not.
How many want to
Or how many and don't and want to, and then of those don't and want to, or even maybe the ones that do and still want to live here, what kind of units were they asking for, and what was their, I think we had what they're currently paying. We had an on the village employee survey, I don't know if we had that question, but in the regular employee, we do have that question about, what is your current rent, and then what are you think is reasonable? So we did have 32 responses, wait, is that right? 31 responses on the village employee, which is
Right.
pretty good. Right? And then on the and then on the regular employee survey, we had
33.
33. One was a test. So
I think
32.
I deleted that one.
Okay, 33, okay. So there's some overlap because some people said they work at the resort, so could be, anyway, go ahead.
So a couple of takeaways here. One is, I know the village manager was pushing for 100% compliance with filling out this survey. So if you're at 31, we have some responses that didn't happen.
Okay,
So I think we probably need to go back to Manager Weir and let him know, hey, as of this date, we've received 31 responses for 70+ employees. So I don't even think we're at half at
okay,
this point. The biggest thing I'm looking to take away from this in the short term is the 2 versus 3 bedroom question.
okay,
Because that split on my current layout
uh-huh,
is 80% 2s and 20% 3s. So that would be the biggest thing I'd be looking to get from this data is, am I way off there?
okay.
Okay,
So
so
Matt-
2 versus 3 bedroom split, okay?
Yes.
And well, and there are some people that said they just want a 1 bedroom or a studio. So if we could have the summary of the unit, I mean, most of them said 2 and 3 bedrooms, but there's at least 2 answers here, 3 answers here that say studio. So I know that's not as critical because it can get a studio apartment, but that would be the main things. And then based on your current income, what do you think is reasonable? Most people, to me, I think we gave them categories, is that right? To
Yeah,
select.
Mhm.
We might just do a quick breakdown of that too, just so we know, hey, look, we're looking at a $1,400 rent, but everybody else here is saying they're, about what they can afford is $800. Then that might be, we need to kind of know.
Yeah, so I agree that breakdown is, of those categories is most important, but I think that the deadline that Manager Weir had given is come and gone, if I'm not mistaken.
It's gone.
So I think we need to first thing, let him know that, hey, we only got about half the response that he asked for. Because before you go tabulating the data that's about to
True.
double in data set, let's get the
Let's
rest of the
wait.
responses.
Yeah,
okay.
but so we can wait on the tabulation.
Yes,
So let's plan for a tabulation on a good summary that's easy to read for the 27th as
Oh,
well.
okay, okay.
correct. And
Okay.
let's also let Manager Weir know that we're gonna have that meeting on the 27th. And so we need our responses back from the employees who haven't filled it out before then.
Okay, and then we can do another social media push. So I went and delivered, and you know what, Josh, if you can take,
We need to know salaries, if they're above.
Not from the village one, because we'll
So we
use the
need-
internal salary data we have.
I took one to Alpine Lumber. I won't step foot in the other hardware store if you want to go there. And then, if, somebody else, and I gave one to Lowe's and I gave one to the resort. Is there any other businesses we might want to?
Did we approach the Rotary about putting it up at the post office board?
Yes, he's got it at the post office board.
Okay,
You hung it up in the glass and I hung up one on inside too. So it's while people are standing in line if they saw it, but,
Okay, we also have another board out here outside of our door
okay.
now.
Visitor Center also has one, so we can hang up. And then Visitor Center can print more for me if I need them to.
What about the woman that owns the 4 restaurants? I didn't.
Oh,
see
yeah,
her on
we
there.
need
For
for Jasmine, that's who
Jasmine.
you work with, right?
Yeah, so I tried reaching out to her husband. And he ghosted me on a project and tried to get him to fill out the email and stuff and he's not getting.
not gonna do
back to me
it.
either.
Okay.
Okay.
So maybe I can try reaching out to the lady or so.
Well, and if their employees, if they can hang one in their businesses or whatever.
She didn't respond either on the employee.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, so and I have some black and white ones, but it's really better if we give them the colored ones, I think, because so if we want more printed, I can, but anyway, the grocery store, the visitor center, we need one here. This one's kind of bent. I guess it doesn't matter. We can put it out there.
I can have one. I'd like to print a couple colored copies, even if it's on paper.
Okay,
I can still put it in here.
That one, we're gonna take that one to the other hardware store?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
One
And
thing to
then-
note for one thing to note when Brett goes and tries to hit up the village employees again is the completion rate was only 64%, at least when I look online. Now that seems a little odd because that's not quite like what I see when I look at the spreadsheet.
When you say completion rate, what do you mean?
That's
If you started the survey but didn't finish it,
That's what it sounds like when you look at the when you look online. So anyway, it's possible that people aren't like clicking all the way through. Just make sure that he might just
Okay.
encourage them to make sure that they're doing that.
Okay. I think I kind of did one or two of those might be me just making sure I can get through the questions. Like I just clicked on it to make sure the tiny URL and all that, so, okay.
What I'm not sure is if it considers it not completed if somebody just skips a question.
Okay.
But like there's plenty of people that skipped the dog question. And maybe that's just because the answer is 0. They're not really intending to skip it.
Sure. Okay,
That's a tough one.
yeah. They don't want to admit they have 6 dogs. Just kidding.
There was somebody who had I highlighted 30 animals.
Yeah, 33.
33.
Fish.
And he's
Oh,
he's a
fish.
people in a studio.
You've got, that's silly.
He has an aquarium. No.
Yeah, probably. Okay, all right, any other businesses we think you've put one here?
I mean, you could hit up the ski shops, but they're so seasonal that
Mhm,
you've hit the big ones.
okay,
Yeah, I just thought she has 4 restaurants. She has to have a fair amount of employees.
yeah, it'd be good if we could get them to put one up in on their billboard.
Doesn't she bring in some of them as J1s though?
I have
She
no
hires a
idea.
fair number of resort
Does she house them?
J1s. That
Okay.
happens in a lot of places.
Got it.
Well, if you know her, take that one in.
I mean, I
Yeah.
will try to get it up for,
Cause I've got,
figure out.
okay, all right, that sounds good.
This is a dumb question because my daughter works there. Is Bluebird Mountain Sports the same thing as Mountain Sports? I've
No,
never
that's
heard.
the old Ski Tech.
That's a new business.
Okay, so then I think Mountain Sports is one that might be missing. I'll try to encourage them to.
Bought out or
Okay.
Something.
absorbed, whatever, but yeah.
What's her last name?
Nikki?
McKee.
Yes.
Jasmine, yeah,
McGee,
Jasmine.
McGee. Okay, got it.
I think it's K, McKee.
MCK.
Yeah.
So basically, let's get the data, and then we wanted kind of the high level split, we need the number of units. The split of the number of types of number of units, the number of units, and
Matt,
for like those
people that
income
have
ranges.
answered, the majority wanted their 2 or 3, didn't they?
Yes, they did. This damn computer.
Sorry, what was the question? I didn't quite hear it.
The people that have answered, the majority of them wanted either a 2-bedroom or a 3-bedroom.
Mhm.
Yes, I think so.
I see,
I mean, you might have 30 people already right there that have wanted 2 or 3 bedrooms.
9, 10 2-bedrooms and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,
There you have your number.
11, 12, 13, 14, 14 3-bedrooms and a couple of 1-bedrooms and a couple of studios.
So that,
25.
if that holds my 80-20 layout,
It's probably
it's
not,
probably not.
yeah,
This is not for
It's
village
happening.
employees.
this is the employee survey, right, it's not the village.
Yeah.
And then the
Maybe.
village, I think, yeah. And then the village was, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9, 10 3-bedrooms. Six 2-bedrooms and 1, 2, 3, 4,
Maybe more
5,
like
6,
60-40.
seven studios / 1 bedrooms. So,
So the way we have it
Which
right
one-
now.
what are you counting? Are you counting row, column O?
well, in the village one, I was counting column in.
And just their first choice?
Yes, I guess you're right. I was only looking at that. And then the other one,
Keep in mind, the way we have right now, the only option that we've got for people who want 1 bedrooms is the roommate scenario.
yeah,
Most
So
of
if-
them have,
But if, my point is, that is going, if we say, listen, I don't have any studios and 1 bedrooms, if you wanna
3 bedrooms.
go in with somebody else on a 2 bedroom, it's gonna,
mhm,
I see what happens is most of those 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms, we go to them and say, you gotta find a roommate and do the 2 bedroom.
mhm,
Or 3.
mhm. Yeah. Some
Several
people
of them
don't,
said
some
Well,
people
and part of the reason why I was asking is, the way we ask this so many different ways. We say, what do you prefer? What do you need? And then we ask them to put their preferences in order. So we do have to kind of figure out how to display it if they show a 2 bedroom, but it's not their first choice, it's their second choice.
Right, right.
So under 80/20, how many are 80?
The 2 bedroom.
The 2 bedrooms are the 80.
Oh,
Uh-huh. Now, With that vendor, the cost difference between the 2s and 3s is marginal.
So
So
we might wanna do some 3s.
we might end up shifting this. Now, the 3s are longer, so from a layout perspective, it changes the layout.
Yeah.
A number of units maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Okay,
One of
you
the
have
things,
no ones. You have no 1 bedroom.
one of the things I think we're gonna have to do before we actually get this housing order put together is go back to these village employees and say, listen, if you are a single person and you're trying to get a 3 bedroom so you can have some rooms to rent,
that's
you,
not happening.
you did it wrong.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to go back and here's the application for housing, please fill this out and explain why you need a 3 bedroom.
That's a good one.
All right, and I'll send the
Because it
note
was a
to.
moneymaker.
Well, and
Mhm.
the second is, can you afford a 3 bedroom?
Correct.
Oh, actually, Matt, can you send the note
Because
to?
what they're paying now is pretty low.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, Matt, since you're kind of over the survey, can you send the results of the village one directly to Brett and just let him know that these are the number of responses?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay, what else? Is that our agenda? Oh, so then we have action items. So
You-
we've talked through several. We talked through several for the first meeting. I think we need to start thinking about. I don't know if we have enough info yet to think about but you talked about needing several things from us. With the lottery, so I think that's gonna be a goal for us to get. I would say that another one is to finish up the governance, get the lottery systems,
Screening the vendors.
yeah, screening of the vendors. Are you not expecting this to screen the infrastructure vendors, are you?
No.
Okay, just the,
Just the
Modular.
housing.
The housing.
okay, all right, and then,
And understand that there's no way you're going to accomplish all this by the meeting on the 27th.
right, no,
Several of these
these are
items
other
are
things,
gonna
right?
flow
Like the-
into February and March.
Yeah, I would say like the lottery system stuff and the governance, if we could get it stuck out of legal, that would be great, but I would say the lottery stuff would be focused on in February.
You can get the form by the 20th.
And then I would say we would wanna get let's get our, the matrix done and voted on the 27th, so that the council can vote on it, and then once the council votes on it, then
Well-
we need,
Sorry, the council is not going to need to approve your matrix, is my opinion now.
okay, all right,
They're only gonna approve your final report.
okay. So then we'll take that, and then we need to kind of set a goal to have people respond to that. So I think we would send that out, and then maybe we give them 2 weeks to respond.
Yeah,
So that if we get it out and we get it sometime like February 20th-ish,
Yeah,
Around that
that
time.
first run, I'm gonna try to get them to return like quick.
okay,
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Like
if
a-
you send it
And
on
then
the
the second one.
29th, then.
It's like 4 questions.
We-
How
we-
long can you do this? in
we'd
4
really like to get down to like a top 3
Okay.
in February
Yeah.
okay,
and selection of housing vendor final in March,
okay,
okay?
all right.
That's,
Let's
now,
write that down.
that's a perfect world. There may be some road bumps and so on and so forth, but yeah, we need to cut down from the big list to the small list in February and the final decision ready. Keep in mind, we need council to approve that in March.
Mhm.
So you got 2 meetings in March
Right,
to catch council and say, here's our final analysis of housing vendors. We recommend ABC and get council to affirm that.
okay.
You say have council approved by end of March.
Yes.
Do we have to get on the meeting now?
Yeah.
You can always do a special.
Sorry.
I know Jake won't like that.
Yeah.
All right, so, I'll send the note to, Elion, I have her email, don't I?
I Strickland,
I Strickland.
Strickland,
Right.
Elion,
Ileana,
Ileana, sorry.
I Strickland,
Strickland, Lin.
L-I-N.
Yeah, I Strickland, Strickland,
L-I-N, not land, okay,
Right, right.
right, okay.
at Angel Fire.
And, okay, but she was not the person who did the first social media post. That was whoever I sent it to the first time to do the social media post, I'll send it to her again and ask her to do it again.
Oh, Shay.
Shay, yeah, I'll send it to Shay. So I'll send it to Shay to ask her, cause I could just send it again and say, hey, can you do that? Can you do
Yeah,
another,
If
cause she
you do-
did,
if you do CC Ileana, that'd be really
Okay.
good. Because sometimes, Shay takes a few days before she posts it.
and then,
And we can just step in and do it.
okay, all right, that's fine. And then, yeah, and I'll just have her say, if you haven't already, please respond to the, and I saw it show up on Village of Angel Fire Locals Only,
And
and
the
the
calendar.
information board. I think that was it.
Okay.
There's an Eagle Nest information board,
There's a Red River one, there's a Taos one. I mean, you could go down that rabbit hole as far as you wanna go.
but we're really trying to focus on people who work in Angel Fire, so surely those people hopefully are also on those boards, okay. Okay? All right, so, anything else?
You got the agenda for the 27th?
Yeah,
Yeah, so next meeting is gonna be 27th, and, so again, I would put on there a report from council liaison. We need to,
vote on the committee charter,
yeah,
vote on the matrix, on the questionnaire.
And report on what, if anything, can be found for lottery and,
right.
legal review of governance document. Matt, which hemisphere are you gonna be in on the 27th?
I'll be in this one.
Okay,
I'll be here. I'll be here, I think in February, the only days I'm gone are 18th through the 23rd. Well, the 23rd is a Monday, so it's so the 27th is what day of the week?
Thought that was Monday.
Well, 14 days from now.
let's see,
I'm sorry, that's June.
what days do
I
you
was
want?
talking about February, never mind. I'm gone 18th through the 23rd of February.
That is a Tuesday to a Sunday.
That 18th through,
18th of February is Tuesday, 23rd is a
I'm coming
Sunday.
back I'm flying back on the 24th.
There you go.
18th through the 24th is when I will be. So we'll just work around that. Well, we'll figure that out the next meeting, so.
Okay, so I'm just gonna review again. Okay, so report from council liaison, review and vote on committee charter. I'm going to review, and vote on vendor matrix.
Yeah.
Review and vote on governance changes. I put in parentheses if available,
Yeah,
or I'll put as available.
from legal.
Yeah.
From legal.
Oh, and we should add, we should have the village internal survey as an agenda item as well. To
Yeah.
try to get,
Oh, yeah, we're
Manager
gonna
Weir to
review, we're
motivate
gonna
everyone.
review those again.
Okay.
Review the summarized,
Okay.
results from Matt.
And report on lottery.
Yeah.
And again, how were the village employees notified of this?
we created a QR code and a flyer that Manager Weir distributed.
Oh. Well, I've never gotten it, just wondered.
I think he was giving it to department heads, but yeah, it'd be good to follow back up and figure out, because And hopefully Matt will email him and say, hey, we only got 30 responses.
Right. Yeah, and I'll give him an update too.
Yeah.
Maya, is there anything that you'd want to volunteer for that you heard us say that we would do? Cause I'm perfectly happy to.
I don't think I have the time available right now, but going into the spring, I should have more
Okay.
time to
okay.
take on projects.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll try to get that out tomorrow sometime. At least our first draft, and then we can go from there. And then ask everybody to respond, like within a couple days. And then,
Email.
yeah, so. Okay. Very good. Thank you, everyone. Meeting adjourned.
Meeting adjourned.
6:35, meeting
All
adjourned.
right.
Matt, I'm gonna ask, so if there's an election, are you gonna be busy with that?
No,
No,